Did you know you can now vibe code your own Burp Suite extensions with the help of Claude Code? Burp even includes a downloadable starter project complete with instructions written specifically for Claude, so you can jump straight into building an extension without any setup headaches. Whether you want to automate tedious testing tasks or add a brand new feature to Burp, it's now easier than ever to get started. It goes without saying, vibe coding isn't risk-free, and you should review the code that Claude produces to make sure it's not doing anything malicious. Having said that, I found it to be extremely capable and generally reliable when coding Burp extensions. So, without further ado, let's check it out. Okay, so we're on Claude's Claude Code page, and luckily there's a single command we can just copy to install Claude Code. Go to our terminal, paste it in, press enter. npm not found, so if you don't have node or npm installed, it will prompt you to install it. We do want to install it, so it's going to go off and install that. So yep, once node is installed, we can rerun that command. It's going to error out, permission denied, probably need to sudo it, and it will install everything. It's probably because I use -g, so I think that installs it globally, so that makes sense. Okay, so now Claude should be installed. So we need to start setting up the project. What we're going to do is go to Burp, and we're going to go to the Extensions tab, APIs, Download Starter Project. This, by the way, is in one of the more recent versions of Burp, 2025.8.8. So I'm going to go into Vibe Coding and just click Save. And I think if I open this, so it's going to have Extension Template Project in my Vibe Coding directory. All these lovely documents here. So this is the project. So we have a Java extension.java file with some sort of base template coding. But what we really need is this Claude.md. However, let's just make sure Claude is working. We're going to cd into that vibe coding directory, and then we're going to cd into the extension template project. And then I'm going to type Claude. So we do want dark mode. Absolutely. And we want to use the Claude account with subscription. So I do have a Claude account. I'm paying for the Pro, which I think is $20 a month or something. So we'll click that. Going to open a tab here. Claude Code would like to connect to your Claude chat account. Yes, that's fine. I'm already logged in to Claude AI, by the way. Okay, you can now close this window. And if we go back, logged in as Tiberius at tiberius.com. Login successful, press enter to continue. Security notes, Claude can make mistakes. You should always review Claude's responses, especially when running code. Due to prompt injection risks, only use it with code you trust. Do you trust the files in this folder? Yes, proceed. Okay, and now we're in Claude Code. So it's using Sonnet version 4.5, Claude Pro, as you can see. This is where we want to actually edit this Claude.md file. So if I open it with VS Code, you know what, let me add the folder to the workspace. Yes, I trust everything in here. And then we can just double click to open it. Okay, so this is what Portswig could give you. It tells Claude how to code and how to build, and gives some references to documentation, so it can know about the Montoya API. And we have current state, and then we can basically put our plan down here. So we're going to have a sort of plan. And because we're vibe coding, I figured, why don't we vibe design? So I used my ChatGPT 5 thinking mode. I told it to research Burp Suite features, web app hacking methodology, and Burp Suite extensibility. Then come up with 10 simple ideas for extensions to Burp Suite, which implement features that do not currently exist. Keep the extension relatively simple, but suggest ways to extend it with additional related features. Focus on extensions which help hackers be more efficient with their testing, automating some part of their usual workflow. Write a detailed paragraph for each one. It thought for about 1 minute and 43 seconds. It obviously visited a few of the Portswigger sites, and it came up with 10 simple Burp extension ideas. Tiny utilities that shave seconds off common tasks and stack nicely. Most of these are kind of, I thought, were a bit weird, but this number 7, lucky number 7, did seem pretty interesting. Parameter case cycler. For a selected key, e.g. user ID, auto-generate variants across common styles like user_ID, user ID camel-cased, user ID lowercased, dash ID with parentheses, With one click, it rewrites query/body keys and resends, letting you quickly see which parsers accept which style. Stretch goals, location switcher, header versus query versus body, value only mutations, e.g. numeric as string/float, persistent so you can replay the winning variant in intruder. So effectively, it's sort of testing whether you can exchange a key with some other kind of spelling of it or variant. And that might be useful for bypassing WAFs occasionally, but it also might just find interesting security features. It might find sort of weird hidden values or just modified parameter values that are hidden. So I thought that one's quite interesting. And so what I did was I asked it to develop idea out into a better design document that I can pass to Claude Code. It thought about that for 25 seconds and came back with this, which is great. It's not something I can pass to Claude Code, though. It's quite good, though. It went into quite a lot of detail and came up with some pseudocode, which is nice. So I switched into canvas mode because I figured that would be slightly better and asked it to create a markdown document for this. So let me click copy and go here. And then hopefully if I paste, there we go. So I've pasted this design document in. And if I just scroll up, I think there was, we don't need this. We don't need the table of contents. I'm going to save this document. And you know what? We're vibe coding. So I'm just going to trust all of this is pretty legitimate. Let's just see what Claude Code does. So I'm going to go into Claude Code here. Now you can hold Shift and Tab to switch between different modes. So this is just the help mode, I believe. But if I hold down Shift and click Tab, accept edits on. So this is the editing mode, or you can do plan mode. And plan mode, effectively, you can ask it to sort of start planning stuff or start creating ideas. And it might at that point suggest improvements, suggest things to code, but it will always prompt you and say, hey, can I start coding? But we just want accept edits on. We're going to basically say, create the extension described in Claude.md. Let's see what happens. So it is already, by the way, we started Claude Code in this directory. So it should know what it's doing. I'll create the parameter case cycler extension for Burp Suite based on the detailed design document in Claude.md. This is a comprehensive project, so let me break it down into manageable tasks. So it's examining the current project structure, which obviously is not much. If we go to this current project structure, it's literally an extension.java file. Now I'll create the comprehensive extension structure. Let me start with the core components. So it's literally going to start writing the code. What it's going to do is effectively just take this design document and start implementing it in code. So what it has figured out, when it decides it wants dependencies, it will obviously put them into the build document. So in this case, it's decided it wants to use the JSON dependency. So it's going to add that. So far, so good. Still writing classes, request mutator, JSON key rewriter, multipart rewrite. So it's basically just creating all these rewriting functions, rewriting classes that should actually do the sort of mangling of those keys. Now it's going to create the UI dialog, so that should be interesting. And sometimes, I will say, sometimes you'll get lucky and the code will just compile. I mean, it's going to hopefully compile the code itself. So sometimes you'll get lucky and it will compile the code itself. In some cases, I have seen it'll go compile the code and then you'll ask it to change stuff. It'll compile it, ask for more changes, compile it. And then at one point it'll forget the compile. You've always got to check the output and see whether it actually compiles at the end. It should tell you whether it's compiling. I have done a few bug fixes using Claude and wondered why it wasn't fixing anything and then realizing it wasn't actually compiling the extension at the end. So you have got to look out. You cannot just use this to do absolutely everything, although you can use it to do like 99% of things. It's pretty good for that. And especially with the bugs, you can always effectively kind of just describe what you're seeing in terms of the bug. It will usually hunt down and get the reason why. So it's printing out a lot of code here. Okay, so it's because it's updating the extension.java, which is the main class. So it's basically just telling you all the stuff it's adding to this class. Okay, now it's building it. All right, and here we go. It won't actually run any commands without your permission. And you can effectively choose option 1, which is you run this command now, and then in the future it'll prompt you. Or you can do yes and don't ask in future, just to run these Gradle W commands to build the extension. I'm going to choose that one. It'll only work in this directory for this project. It's going to effectively mean that it's now going to automatically build, or it should automatically build the extension in the background anytime it does any code changes that require you to recompile the extension. All right, build failure. So it's now going to try and debug itself. Okay, so it turns out we don't actually have a Java compiler. So in this case, it's going to try and run sudo apt-get install. And I don't want to choose option 2 here because obviously getting it to run sudo apt-get install anytime is kind of bad. So yes, let's just choose option 1. A password is required. Okay, why don't I just copy this then? So I'm going to copy this selection. We're going to go new tab, paste it. Let's install it myself. Okay, so I've installed it. So now I can go to number 3, know and tell Claude what to do differently. I have installed the OpenJDK manually. Great, now let me try building the extension again. Okay, so it tried to build it again, and it's decided something's gone wrong. It's going to try and update it again. Build failure. It's going to try and fix it. I guess, yeah, the Java home environment variable wasn't set in this instance. It figured out how to do that. It looks like it built it though. There we go. We have built this extension. It tells us where it is in build/libs. It's creating a README document to explain what the extension does, but this should be built. So we can now go back to Burp and go to installed, in extensions installed, click add, go to the vibe coding, extension template project, and then go to build libs extension template project.jar. And loaded. Parameter case cycler extension loaded successfully. Right-click on any HTTP request and select cycle parameter cases. So I guess we need to open a browser. We probably should just use the gin and juice shop, ginandjuice.shop from Portswigger to view all products. If we view a product, it should have a product ID parameter. So let's track this down. Right-click, and we don't get anything. Maybe we have to right-click the request. Okay, so we can't just right-click here. We have to right-click the actual request down here. Parameter case cycler cycle parameter cases. So it has found the parameter product ID in the query. Case styles, all these different styles. Locations, query form, URL encoded, multi-part JSON keys, headers, collision policy. So if I guess this means if there's already a sort of a product ID uppercased, it'll just replace it. Dry run. Let's see what dry run does. I don't know what dry run did. It doesn't look like it did anything here. That's good. Maybe dry run doesn't actually do anything. Let's try just regular, right? Just execute, I guess. Is it doing anything? It doesn't look like it, does it? Request is out of scope. Okay. I don't know, maybe the document did explain it, but that's actually pretty good. Oh, safety features. There we go. Scope guard. So we didn't add this to scope. So actually that's kind of cool that it's done that. Let's use the advanced scope. Let's add gin and juice shop to the scope. And now let's see. Okay, so let's try this again. Dry run, execute. Here we go. Generated 9 variants for parameter product ID. So these are all the variants, and obviously the statuses are all completely blank because this is a dry run. Okay, show differences only. There are no differences. Okay, cool. So let's now do just a clone and send and see what happens. Okay, the identity, I guess, is the original. Lower camel is obviously the status is going to be the same because it's literally the same thing. But everything else became a 400. And if we show the differences, wait, why does this differ? I'm not sure the differences feature functionality works. It does do something. And so that's pretty interesting. Let's actually have a look at the logger. So it did, yeah. It replaced the product ID in every single instance. And did it run the original? It didn't run the original first. So this isn't the original. This is the lowercase one, I believe. So if we go, oh no, wait a minute. No, it is. Now we have some stuff running. Now it compiles, it runs. We can go back to Claude Code and we can say, okay, well, it would be nice for an error message to come up if we try and use this tool on something that's not in scope. So what we can say is if a user tries to run this against an out of scope URL, a warning box should appear to let them know. Okay, and we can just tell it that. And hopefully what it'll then do is go off and add that little check-in. Good point. Let me add a warning dialog. I'll update the run orchestrator to show a confirmation dialog when scope guard detects an out of scope request. Okay, so it should go off and now code that. And there you go. You can see the code it's going to add here. It looks like it's even gone. So it's actually gone a bit further. It's going to say that the URL is out of scope, and then it's going to ask if you want to proceed anyway. So that's actually pretty cool. Instead of just warning me, which is all I asked for. Sometimes it does come up with I have noticed it does come up with these sort of additional improvements. Because all I asked was a warning box. And it's like, instead, it's like, well, I could do the warning box, but then we could just sort of skip. And it's literally going to go and add all that. We do want to, yes, proceed. So I think because the export Java home only works for one run, I think we may have to click yes every single time. Usually you won't have to do that. Okay, so the build did succeed. It's going to verify it, but we can probably just go to extensions, hold down control and click the loaded. That should automatically reload it. I mean, let's try that again. So actually what I'll do now is we'll disable this scope and we're going to right click, go to extensions. And remember, it didn't pop up yet. Let's do a dry run. Warning, this URL is out of scope. Do you want to proceed anyway? No, we don't. But let's go clone and send and click yes. And there you go. It does indeed do that. What we can try and do is try and debug this weird bug, right? Because we have these two requests where there is no difference. I can explain that. I ran the extension and one of the mutations didn't have any noticeable differences with the original, but the extension still marked it as different. Can you help me debug this? So one thing I'll note is, yeah, it's pretty good. If you do come up with a bug, sometimes it'll know exactly why. If it's an obvious bug, it'll figure out why the bug happens. But in cases like this, where it's kind of weird, you might just want to ask, can you help me debug this? And it will try and do that. So it's examining the code. It apparently has found an issue. The has differences from method has a bug in the header comparison logic. It only checks headers that exist in the current variant header deltas. Doesn't check for headers that exist in the baseline, but not in the current variant. Okay, I mean, maybe that is why. So let's compile and see. Well, let's reload and let's click down here, run it again, execute, yes. So we have to explain a bit more. That wasn't the issue. Can you add code that prints out the differences when they are seen? So now I'm sort of forcibly telling it to log those differences. One thing I will note, in this case, I've seen it use the logger. So it is using the extension logger right here. It does know about this logger. Sometime, and most of the time it'll use it, like 90% of the time it'll use it. Sometimes though, because it's Java code, it will try and use the system.out.print. And obviously it can't do that. There was an occasion where I was vibe coding another extension and I was asking it to debug and it just literally wasn't printing anything. And I had to go in and notice that it was actually using system.out.print. And I had to tell it, stop using that. But now it looks like it's using the logging, right? So it's using logging here. We do have to rebuild it. So it's rebuilt. Let's go and reload it again. Go back here, clone and send, sure. Okay, so now hopefully if we close this, logger we want this, here we go. Right, identity, no differences detected. The set cookie differs. Okay. It's because the set cookie values differ. That's interesting. Was there a way around that? So actually what we can do is say we don't care about differences. So we could add a feature. Maybe we'll wrap up this video by adding a feature which lets us select in the initial dialog what we actually care about in terms of differences. What were the current differences it has now? Actually, you know what? I'm just gonna vibe code it. In the initial dialog, allow the user to select the differences that they care about. For example, cookies, status code, etc. All should be enabled by default. Only mark requests as different if there are differences in the selected items. Hopefully that should do. Let me add a differences to track section to the dialog where users can select which types of differences they care about. It's going to update extension config, cycler dialog, and variant result classes. Okay, Let's compile it again. It compiled. Excellent. Okay, so we can reload it, rerun it, extensions, and here we go. So now we have these differences to track, and we can say, okay, well, now we actually don't care about the set cookie. So if we execute now, there we go. Difference. No, this is what we wanted. So these are the exact same variant name, and now because we don't care about the set cookie, we don't actually have a difference here. So that all seems to work. If we show differences only, these are the only differences. So that's cool. Okay. And yeah, I mean, so other things you might want to do from this point, honestly, the world is your oyster. You could make it so you could right click on a request in the proxy history and select it. You could literally describe that functionality to Claude Code, and it would probably go off and do it. In this case, you might want an instance where if you double click on this, it'll show you the differences between the original and the mutated one. That might be a feature. So yeah, you can really do anything. I vibe coded another extension, which I'll do another video about. But yeah, it's just quite impressive what it can do. And if we actually go to Claude, if I go to Claude.ai and then go to, I think is it settings, usage. So this is the current usage. So I started this off at 0%. So you basically get 5 hours-ish of session time. And effectively, once that runs out, you just have to wait for it to reset. And then you have like a weekly. So honestly, I've never maxed out this. I've maxed out this one before with some of the bigger extensions. So it's definitely easy to max out. But you can see we're only 24% through. You can do quite a lot in one session. But it is one of those things where you can literally, start coding. And then as soon as it stops, it'll just refuse to go on. You just wait until it resets and come back and say, okay, now you can resume, and it will go off and do its thing. And obviously, I think you can upgrade your plan if you really want to. This is just the $20 a month plan. So far, kind of impressed with how quickly it does stuff and with its ability to debug itself. But yeah, so now you know how to create a Claude Code vibe coding project yourself, and obviously how to set up the claude.md file. If you found this video helpful, please give it a like and subscribe to my channel for more burp, hacking, and cybersecurity content. Drop a comment with what kind of extension you'd build first, or if you have any vibe coding tips. Until next time, happy hacking.